Hello, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're embarking on a massive geographical journey to map out the Ganga River system. But right off the bat, I want you to look at this not just as a body of water, not just some simple blue line drawn on a map. We are going to look at the Ganga as a colossal, living entity. It's this dynamic force that literally shapes the geography, the ecology, and honestly, the absolute survival of hundreds of millions of people on the Indian subcontinent. Let's dive in. Here is our geographical roadmap for today. We'll start with Section 1, Birth of the Ganga. Then Section 2, Flowing through the Plains. Section 3, the mighty Yamuna system. Section 4, Southern tributaries and dams. Section 5, the Grand Sundarbans Delta. And finally, Section 6, a living, breathing entity. All right, Section 1, Birth of the Ganga. So the Ganga doesn't just spring out of the ground fully formed. Not at all. It's actually an incredible team effort. It starts with the Alaknanda River, which gathers this formidable strength through a series of spectacular confluences known as the Punch Prayag, or the 5 sacred river meetings. First, way up at Vishnu Prayag, the Dali Ganga meets the Alaknanda. Then, as the river flows down, it absorbs the Nandakini at Nanda Prayag, the Pindar at Karna Prayag, and the Mandakini at Ridra Prayag. But the ultimate climax? That happens at Dev Prayag. This is where the Alaknanda violently merges with the Bhagirathi River, which comes tumbling down from the Gangotri Glacier. Only after this massive collision at Dev Prayag does this combined flow officially become the Ganga.
Now, in this upper course, the river is just wild. Fueled by gravity and those steep Himalayan slopes, the intense downward kinetic energy literally slices right through the mountains. I mean, this violent vertical force carves out deep, dramatic V-shaped valleys and tight gorges, punctuated by these spectacular waterfalls and ferocious rapids. It's just raw, unbridled energy tearing through solid rock. From that dramatic birth, the newly formed Ganga embarks on a massive journey spanning 2,525 kilometers across India alone. And that number really sets the sheer scale of what we're talking about today. We are looking at a total river basin spanning over 8.6 lakh square kilometers. To put that into perspective for you, that basin is larger than the entire landmass of Pakistan. Which brings us to Section 2, Flowing through the Plains. As the river eventually slows down and exits the mountains at Haridwar, it absorbs absolutely massive left bank tributaries coming down from the Himalayas and the Tibetan Plateau. We've got the Ganga, which remarkably flows right through India's oldest national park, Jim Corbett. Then there's the Gomti, winding right through the heart of Lucknow. We have the Gagra, this immense transboundary river flowing past the historical city of Ayodhya. And further downstream, the Gandak joins in, sustaining Bihar's Valmiki National Park. These tributaries aren't just streams, They are massive lifelines in their own right. Geographically, as the river traverses these flatlands, its whole personality changes. The gradient flattens out, and the river kind of gets lazy. So instead of slicing downward, its energy shifts sideways. The river begins to carve vast, wide, U-shaped valleys and lazy loops across the landscape. As it curves and meanders across the plains, it occasionally pinches off entirely, leaving behind these tranquil, crescent-shaped oxbow lakes. But here is the absolutely crucial takeaway. As the Ganga meanders and floods over millennia, it continually deposits nutrient-rich alluvial sediments carried all the way down from the Himalayas. This dynamic process creates one of the most intensely fertile agricultural zones on the planet, a zone that supports 40% of India's population. Think about that for a second. Hundreds of millions of people rely entirely on the soil created by this one river's journey.
Moving on to Section 3, the mighty Yamuna system. Now, what's really fascinating here is where the Yamuna actually gets its water. While it originates up in the Yamunotri Glacier and flows perfectly parallel to the Ganga, it collects massive right-bank tributaries from the arid peninsular plateaus of central India. Rivers like the Chambal, the Sindh, the Betwa, and the Ken. They don't come from snowy peaks. They flow north from the Vindhyan Range and Malwa Plateau. The Chambal carves out these dramatic badlands and shelters the endangered gharial crocodile, while the Betwa flows near incredible ancient sites like the Sanchi Stupa. The Yamuna consolidates all these distinct central Indian waters long before it ever even reaches the Ganga. And then they finally meet at the Triveni Sangam in Prayagraj. This is just a breathtaking geographical and cultural event where the mighty Yamuna seamlessly merges into the Ganga. This confluence holds immense spiritual weight. It's the site of the legendary Kumbh Mela, literally the largest peaceful gathering of humans on Earth, where tens of millions gather to celebrate the joining of these gigantic aquatic lifelines. Section 4. Southern Tributaries and Dams.
So as a living entity, a river can be incredibly generous, sure, but it can also be incredibly volatile. And we see a perfect contrast here with two rivers historically known as sorrows. Over on the left bank is the Kosi River. Descending rapidly from Tibet and Nepal, it carries immense sediment and is notoriously unstable. Actually, the Kosi has shifted its course by over 100 kilometers in just the last few centuries. These devastating floods earned it the title Sorrow of Bihar. Then, on the right bank, we have the Damodar River, surging from the Chota Nagpur Plateau. It's historically known as the Sorrow of Bengal for its equally destructive flash floods. It's a stark reminder of just how wild and unpredictable this whole system really is. To harness this immense kinetic energy, humans stepped in, and the scale of our intervention is absolutely staggering. Towering high up in the mountains on the Bhagirathi sits the Tehri Dam, the tallest in India. Across the Chambal, we've engineered a massive cascade of dams, including Gandhi Sagar and Rana Pratap Sagar. Further east, artificial lakes of monumental proportions have been created, like the one behind the Rihan Dam. And to tame that volatile Sorrow of Bengal, the Damodar Valley Corporation built an extensive network of dams modeled directly after the Tennessee Valley Authority in the U.S. It's a massive, complex, and ongoing human effort to control and draw power from a living system.
Now for Section 5, the Grand Sundarbans Delta. The climax of this river is this complex, massive international sequence. One main branch of the Ganga flows into Bangladesh, where it takes the name Padma. Then, the titanic Brahmaputra River, known locally over there as the Jamuna, merges directly into the Padma. And as if that wasn't enough moving water, the massive Meghna River eventually joins this combined flow. Finally, this unbelievable amalgamation of three mega river systems empties out into the Bay of Bengal. The resulting landscape? The Ganga-Brahmaputra Delta. It's a colossal, fan-shaped formation hosting the Sundarbans. This is a global ecological marvel, guys. It is the world's largest mangrove forest, thriving in the exact tidal zones where fresh river water clashes with the salty sea. This UNESCO World Heritage Site is the ultimate sanctuary for the endangered Royal Bengal tiger. And when you really think about it, it's kind of mind-blowing. This sprawling, dense forest is built entirely upon tiny grains of sand and silt, carried all the way down from the very peaks of the Himalayas. Finally, Section 6, a living, breathing entity. So, how do we interact with a system of this scale in the modern world? Well, in a truly historic and unprecedented ruling, the Uttarakhand High Court actually granted the River Ganga the exact same legal rights, duties, and liabilities as a living human being. This was a massive paradigm shift. It was the first time in India a natural resource was given this status. The law finally officially recognized what culture has intuitively known for millennia. The river is alive, it can be harmed, and it has a fundamental legal right to exist and flow.
Because it's alive and under immense pressure, it requires aggressive protection. We now have massive frameworks, like the National Ganga Council, chaired by the Prime Minister, tasked with trying to reverse severe pollution. Yet, simultaneously, the river acts as National Waterway 1, which is the longest inland commercial waterway in India. It is the ultimate modern paradox, right? How do we heavily utilize our longest waterway for massive economic gain while keeping a legally recognized living entity off life support?
Ultimately, this quote captures the reality perfectly. The Ganga is not just a water body, it is the most sacred river in India, deeply intertwined with our history, culture, and very survival. From carving out those jagged Himalayan gorges, to feeding 40% of the population, to building the Sundarbans grain by grain, it is the absolute lifeblood of the subcontinent. And with that, we've reached the end of our geographical journey. You've seen the wildly powerful tributaries, the massive dams, and the spectacular delta. But viewing this not just as a map, but as a fragile, living system, leaves us with one incredibly important question to ponder. How will we protect India's most vital living entity for future generations? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring the incredible geography around you.